The descendants of Jacob, also called Israelites, multiplied greatly in Egypt. Their numbers grew so vast that they became a significant presence in the land. Over generations, a new pharaoh rose to power who did not know of Joseph and his contributions. This pharaoh feared the growing numbers of the Israelites and forced them into harsh slavery to control them. Day after day, the Israelites cried out in distress, their spirits crushed under the weight of their oppression. They prayed fervently for deliverance, hoping that their cries would reach the heavens. To limit the Israelites' population, Pharaoh issued a cruel decree. All newborn Hebrew boys were to be thrown into the Nile. This heartless command struck fear into the hearts of many, especially the mothers who clung to their infants in terror. But one courageous mother, Jochebed, hid her baby for 3 months, defying the Pharaoh's decree. She knew that keeping him hidden was a temporary solution, and that she needed to find a way to save him. When she could no longer hide him, she crafted a basket made of papyrus, coated it with tar and pitch, and placed her baby inside. She set the basket among the reeds along the bank of the Nile, hoping that someone kind would find him. Pharaoh's own daughter came to bathe at the river and discovered the child. She felt compassion for the crying baby and decided to adopt him, naming him Moses, which means drawn out of the water. Moses grew up in the royal palace, enjoying the privileges of Egyptian royalty, yet he was Hebrew by birth and never forgot his roots. He learned the ways of the Egyptians but always felt a connection to his own people. One day, as a young man, Moses saw an Egyptian taskmaster beating an Israelite slave. The sight of his fellow Hebrew being mistreated filled him with rage and a sense of justice. Unable to contain his anger, Moses struck the Egyptian, killing him. Realizing the gravity of his actions, he buried the body in the sand, hoping no one would discover what he had done. When Pharaoh learned of the incident, he sought to kill Moses. Fearing for his life, Moses fled from Egypt to the land of Midian, leaving behind the only home he had ever known. In Midian, Moses found refuge and a new beginning. The harsh desert landscape was a stark contrast to the opulence of Egypt, but it offered him peace and anonymity. One day, he came across the daughters of a local priest, Jethro, being harassed by shepherds at a well. Moses defended them and helped water their flocks, showcasing his inherent sense of justice and kindness. Impressed by his actions, Jethro welcomed Moses into his home. Moses stayed with Jethro's family, eventually marrying one of his daughters, Zipporah. He settled into a new life, tending to Jethro's flocks and raising a family. Meanwhile, back in Egypt, the cries of the Israelites grew louder under the weight of their oppression. Their suffering was immense, and their pleas for deliverance became more desperate with each passing day. While tending sheep near Mount Horeb, Moses noticed a strange and wondrous sight, a bush engulfed in flames, yet not consumed by the fire. Intrigued, he approached the phenomenon, unaware that this moment would change his life forever. As he drew closer, he heard the voice of God calling out to him from the bush, "Moses, Moses, take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Moses obeyed. Filled with awe and reverence, God continued, "I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them. I will send you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt." Overwhelmed by the divine mission, Moses questioned God, saying, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? I am slow of speech and tongue." He doubted his ability to fulfill such a monumental task. God reassured him, saying, "I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain." Despite his fears, Moses felt a sense of divine support. Moses asked for signs to prove his divine mission. God instructed him to throw his staff on the ground, and it turned into a snake. When Moses picked it up by the tail, it turned back into a staff. This miraculous transformation was a sign of God's power. God also gave Moses other signs, such as making his hand leprous and then healing it, and turning water from the Nile into blood. These signs were meant to convince the Israelites and Pharaoh of God's power and Moses' divine mission. With these signs and reassurances, God instructed Moses to return to Egypt. Though hesitant, Moses obeyed, knowing that he was not alone in this daunting task. On the way, Moses was joined by his brother Aaron, who was chosen by God to speak on Moses' behalf. Together, they were a formidable team, united by their mission and their faith. United, they carried God's message of freedom. They confronted Pharaoh with God's command, "Let my people go." Their determination was unwavering, fueled by their faith and the signs they had witnessed. With Aaron by his side and a staff of wonders in his hand, Moses left Midian, ready to face the most powerful ruler of his time. The journey ahead was fraught with challenges, but Moses was resolute. The stage was set for a clash of wills and a demonstration of God's power that would shape history forever. The confrontation between Moses and Pharaoh would become a pivotal moment in the story of the Israelites. Like this video if you're excited to continue the journey of Exodus. Your support helps us bring these stories to life. Share in the comments what stood out most: Moses' humble beginnings, the burning bush encounter, or God's promise to free his people. Which moment inspires you the most? We love hearing your thoughts and reflections. Subscribe for episode 2, where Moses and Aaron confront Pharaoh and witness the miracles of God. Don't miss the next chapter in this epic journey, including the plagues and the crossing of the Red Sea.